Hello, hello, and we're back. This thought experiment is about the Triumphal Arch. And what do I mean by that? Triumphal Arch is this big monument structure. It's got at least one arched passageway. And it's supposed to be a Roman thing where they built them quickly to honor an important person or commemorate some event. And usually they're isolated. They're not part of a wall or a street or anything like that. And used for just like processional purposes. Not the same as the city gate or the Porta Triumphalis, where the victorious Roman army would pass before entering the sacred territory of Rome, the sacred city. And at one point there were like 30 of them, allegedly in Rome. Most of them are gone. Now, there's a few still in France, as far as official triumphant arches. Now, what I'm doing here is, as usual, I am going from place to place in the world, and I'm wondering why we have the same buildings, the same tendency to do the same things. I mean, I know there's only so many ways you can build a door, but to have an isolated item like this, just not part of any wall, just out free form as standing, seems to serve no functional purpose. Makes no sense for there to be one outside of the areas where this would be culturally significant. In other words, outside of Rome, or areas where Romans allegedly had control. You wouldn't think that this would be a thing, but it is. And we're going to see how much of a thing, and we're going to recklessly speculate on, wildly speculate on if there was ever any real function to them. At the very least, it's odd that they are in so many places and so prominent around the world. At the very most, we're looking at some very strange sort of outlandish alien tech. Now, I know that sounds crazy, sort of weird alien technology. I mean, it is crazy, but I'm just saying those are the two extremes we're going to kind of fluctuate between. So first, I'm looking at these. These are just drawing renderings of them before we had photographs. And there's a few commonalities that they all share. No matter where they are in the world, they have an eagle, usually, or a angel being holding a wreath of eternity, or a Taurus. Taurus is what it looks like to me. This one's no exception to this drawing. See, she's got this here. What I think this is odd is this. I'm not sure what this symbolizes, these, but it looks like these are like levitating around these poles, as if they're like sort of some sort of electromagnetic thing going on, which is, of course, very interesting because obviously we don't even have cameras. We're just drawing stuff here at this point in time. So why would that be? It could be just artistic license, but the whole thing seems pretty detailed outside of that. And then this is another one with the same kind of thing going on. It looks very electrical in nature, but I don't know. These are just the earliest renderings of them that we have. And not all of them are the same, but they share some similarities sometimes. And this isn't to say that every arch doorway falls in this category. For example, you have this one here. This is in New York. This is not an Arch of Triumph per se. I mean, the criteria to me has to be much larger. It's usually it's rather blocky, and the statuary and stuff on the top. And you'll see sometimes depending on where you're on the world, stylistically they're a little bit different. But this one does share the golden eagle, or the eagle that they put on the top of many of them, which is just odd. I mean, why are we doing the same thing Rome did? And this is another one with an eagle. This is allegedly in Illinois, one that they constructed to receive Abraham Lincoln's remains. This is his funeral. Another little eagle up here. This one's very different stylistically, but the same concept. Here we've got another one, a double-headed eagle, or phoenix, however you want to call it, predominant everywhere. And so what is the point of these? What is the point of these arches? And then you can see how small the man is down here. And allegedly, Napoleon had some of them built, and they belonged to various emperors and Caesars at the time, at least the original Arches of Triumph. And in the artwork from the medieval times, from the Renaissance era, you have these predominantly featured, although much more subtly in the background. Now, this painting, I think, is on the ceiling of a cathedral. It's a little interesting because you kind of got this, I don't know really what I'm looking at with the little ink. It might be like a tourist thing. But if you look close up here, where all this action and movement is emanating from, either coming down from or going towards, it appears to be some sort of an arched doorway. And then you have your phoenix here, or your big bird here. So I don't know why the recurring symbolism. And again here, in this other cathedral, you look closely up here, you can see it's kind of emanating from this doorway. As in these portals, and you can't help out of a science fiction movie, where just a doorway in the middle of nowhere. That often in fiction, you see it in dozens and dozens of films. I mean, it's a pretty commonly used trope that doors in the middle of nowhere that teleport you to another world, or a window to another dimension, even. And you can kind of see this strange little mirrored image here. I don't know what the symbolism behind this painting is, but it looks like this is some sort of a place in between worlds, and they're accessed on either side by these cathedral doors. I don't know, I'm just speculating. I suppose there's probably an actual explanation for it, but this is the world that we live in, and the art that we have, and the things that we're trying to draw conclusions from. Obviously, they held great importance in Rome, featured on a bunch of different coins. Here's one that I find interesting, where there's clearly this divine source, and it appears to be sort of separate from what's going on out here on the outside of the frame. Now, of course, not every arch is one of these triumph arches. Some of them are just doorways. Some of them are part of city walls, and like this one here at the Yellowgate National Park. This one is for the benefit and enjoyment of the people, of course. Yes, of course. This one appears to be just sort of functional in a very rustic way, and it's just an actual doorway. It's an actual little gateway, It's part of the fence, and you do see that. And there are plenty of arches in all over the world, everywhere in architecture that are not exactly considered to be triumphal arches. I'm defining it as loosely as being roughly the same size and shape of the ones we've been looking at, with usual statuary on the top, a free floating building, sometimes with 3 doorways, with the center one larger. Sometimes you get these monuments like this, so like the famous one in St. Louis. This one is actually in Peru, but there's a huge one of these in St. Louis, the gateway. There's a lot of synonymous. The word gate is almost interchangeable with arch in a lot of places. Now, this one is roughly the same shape as an Arch of Triumph. This is in Malta, but it's much smaller. So this is exactly what I would call an Arch of Triumph, but it does share the same similarities stylistically. And this one is actually in Italy. Italy has dozens of legitimate Arches of Triumph. I'm just showing examples of ones that are based on my loose definition. Now here's one that's got the same sort of this sort of acoustic looking pattern that you see in many of these arches. And this one's just got a very unique shape to it with a star top, unlike anything I've ever seen. This is in Iran. And even when they're close, even when they are not the same style, they borrow from it. And I just find it odd. I find it odd that these cultures be so different. But so here's one in Washington, D.C. This is not an Arch of Triumph, but this is part of a monument or memorial. But you see here, even this one, you've got the wreaths and these eagles sort of holding it as if they're like a halo, like a Taurus, which is just an odd touch. You can put anything there you want, and that's what. In Turkmenistan, this is an example of one that's just part of the wall, a gateway into like a fort or a castle. This one looks like at one point it was part of a wall. This is in Spain. And the only reason I'm showing you these is because so you can see the difference between I think it's important for, if we're going to look at something, to investigate something to see if there's any similarities. As to just not say, well, anything with an archway must be related. And no, that's not the case. As you can see here, they can be stylistically, even have some of the same motifs, but they're not the same thing to me. For what I'm referring to as an Arch of Triumph in this particular leg of investigation, because I'm making my architectural terms. And even if this, I don't really have a point here. I don't really have a point to making. It's just data. It's just a data point to consider. When we look at all these different things around the world that shouldn't be the same everywhere, but they are. And it just speaks to us being much more of a united culture at one point. And this is one that is in Albania, but this is just, again, part of the city wall. So I would not consider this an Arch of Triumph. The interesting thing about arches in general is that not only fiction associates them with portals and things like that, but it runs very strong in Native American lore. In fact, there was a study done not long ago by Arches National Park. It's a park in Utah that has hundreds of allegedly natural arches, which is where the rock just erodes like that. And of course, I don't believe that to be true. I think that can be true in some cases, but many of them are just actually ruins of old structures. That's my opinion. But regardless of my opinion, they ran these large ethnographic studies, these reports, and they interviewed and used the voices of these Native American groups, all different groups. There was a Hopi tribe, the Paiute of Utah, the Pueblo of Zuni, the Southern Ute Indian tribe. There's an Ure, I think, from Colorado. There's 5 or 6 of them, Navajo, and they all the tribes agreed that those, when they were asked about the park and how it should be conducted according to what their opinions were, they said that they're portals, these arches, and they couldn't agree on. They all interpreted the arches as being living portals to other dimensions. Not a single tribal representative thought it was a good idea to permit visitors to sit in them, especially ones with young children. So regardless of whether or not fiction, whether the stories about these being, portals are fictional, there is still a large living part of the population that actually considers them to be portals to the other world, which is just an interesting data point. In fact, there's a super incredible arch the other day that I saw just walking by in the city, and I thought I'd point it out because it was so amazing. Hold on, let me see if I can find it here. There it is. Look at that. How incredible. Like how they construct that. Those balloons must have taken hours. Stylistically, the arch is everywhere. This is in Algeria. A couple of the interesting things about those reports are that they believe that, for example, there's portals in many places in that nature. There are these finger portals that Native Americans claim exist in these little canyons in Nevada, called Black Mountain. And there's this little shallow canyon that's like eroded, and it's covered on both sides with like little drawings of people who are allegedly spirit helpers. And so there's these little shallow holes, which the natives claim that they use them and open the portals. You put your finger in you have to put hematite paint and grease on your finger and put it in the hole and then pray for access. And so all of these tribes agreed that they're portals. And they were saying that there's nobody alive today who should be in them, because they don't know the rituals. So regardless if it's just a trope in fiction, it is a thing where people do equate arches with portals to other dimensions. Now, these are Roman looking. This one is in Tunisia. That one was in Angola. So we're down here in Africa, and we are seeing very similar things stylistically. They don't have the same grandeur, but so we can see that the architecture is similar everywhere, which is already strange. You've got some of the same kind of like similar grooves here. And this one is just part of this structure. This one is in Algeria, part of a city wall. And we'll look at a couple that are... Well, hell, let's just jump into it. This is sort of your quintessential Arc of Triumph. I don't think it technically is one, but this is what I'm talking about. This massive grandeur building with the two doorways that are smaller on the side. Statuary up top. It used to be made of bronze. And you can see there, it's bad resolution, but you can see they're holding out these little Taurus wreaths, like halos, in their hand, out over above. This is something you see time and time again. I don't know what it means, but, it is interesting. And this big standalone structure just whipped up in a frenzy, just put together real quick because a dignitary's coming to town, Like an heir without power tool. I find that very, very hard to believe. The official story is silly, so you might as well engage in fantasy and think that they're portals to another world. Not all of them, of course. This one just looks like it's made of brick, but it is weird. It's just standing out here in the middle of nowhere. And this is the Arch of Constantine in Rome, and you can see the grandeur that goes into this. And it's very impressive. Look how tiny the people are. And the size is disturbing. Now, this is one that looks like they've built into. It looks like they've sort of added onto it and turned this what was a passageway into a complex. They've incorporated this into some complex. And you do see that from time to time. In fact, some of them have been, I believe, they appear to be re-engineered in an interesting way. Reincorporated into the world a different way. And maybe I'm wrong. This one here is in Boston. And I just can't help but think that this building right here, Rose Wharf, was a standalone arch at some point. And they just built this around it. Doesn't even look like it's made of the same material at all. And it kind of makes no sense. And I could be wrong. This one looks like it was just turned into a train station. They just added on wings, hung a clock, sealed this up. And this one as well. This one, by the way, is in Canada. This is in Finland. And again, it looks to me like you have something that was turned into a station, a train station, bus station. And the old Universal Studios. Now, whether this is like fake to look old world or just repurposed old world, it's still very interesting, isn't it, that they chose this as their entrance. And in fact, they did it twice. This is in Georgia. And this one's kind of funny because the city, it's a different color of material. And it's not even uniform on either side. So me thinking this was stood alone first. And they added onto it. So they're everywhere. Or were everywhere. Here is Arch of the Viceroys. This is kind of funny. I mean, it looks like this brick part was just not part of it. Replaced the angel with this guy. I don't know. And then you have the other Universal Studios in Hollywood with the same thing. I wonder if they know something. I mean, you could take the opinion that they want you to feel like you're entering a new world. And maybe you are. And, I actually heard, it's kind of comical, but I've heard speculation that, your soul that flies around your body, like sort of like a few feet above your head, kind of trails you around. That's why you have tall doorway for churches and such. And that's why sometimes in modern homes, when you go through the door, you enter a room, you forget why you came into the room often. That's a silly example, but this one is in Italy, just in the middle of the street. No apparent purpose for these, really. Also Italy, and that is just unbelievable. Imagine putting time into something that doesn't do anything. It's just sort of symbolic, I guess. I don't know. This is in Italy. This is made entirely brick, and another little one here. It does make you wonder what exactly they were for, if anything, I suppose. Now, this is in Iran. Iran has their own style of doing them, but they make dozens of them, dozens and dozens of them, and they all stand alone. They're separate from material from the walls. They've all got the same sort of pattern. They're very proud of them, but it's the same concept. The three doorways. This one is in Ireland. I believe it leads to a cemetery. Very, very similar. And this one is also in Ireland. This one's much more triumphant. More of the same similarities. And I suppose that people just could be really into gates. This one I thought was interesting because this is in Iraq. And I think it's supposed to be an owl, but the similarities to the eagle on top of this is just too close. And it just makes me wonder, what is the purpose of this? Why are we doing things in Iraq emulating Romans and things that we find in America? Which is why. Makes no sense. There's another one in Iran, and it looks very similar, but it is different. They got a whole bunch of these that are like this. And in color. And you can see it stands alone. Nothing else around it. Very interesting. This is also in Iran. This is a little more classic looking. Like, when did Iran have this little naked baby theme going on? Thought that was totally a European thing. There's guys standing on those columns, so they don't really look very Persian, do they? And this is from a book of Persia, Past and Present, Travel and Research. And this is is also in Iran. And you see that this is very similar to what we see everywhere. The same thing, same gate. So what? We just all like, we just love that shape. We can't get enough of it. We can't get enough of it even in Iran. That we gotta use the same. Seems to me like if I came here, I would assume everyone was just like the same culture. This is a terrible resolution picture, but I couldn't find a different one. But this is in India, and I just don't know why we're all doing it. This is also in India. You can see it stands alone. Same concept. A little slightly different stylistically, like keyhole doors, but the same thing. So what is the point of these things? This one's in India. Tell me that didn't stand out. Memorials? I mean, only get you so far, I guess. I just don't understand what we're doing. This one is in India as well. You probably couldn't tell stylistically. But again, it's different from the walls. It looks like the walls are built later. Same with this one. Not built as part of the fortress. Built as something else. It's different color than the walls. It stands alone. It looks older. And it just makes no sense why we'd be doing this everywhere. This one's got 2 lions also. This is in India. And this is obviously India. It's funny, this is India Gate. India Gate sounds like a scandal, political scandal in America. Went from Russia Gate to India Gate. Soon we'll get to Bill Gates Gate. And this is to the dead of the Indian armies who honored in France and Mesopotamia. A war memorial, but why this shape? It just makes no sense. It's a Mobrian. No sense at all. It's not like a protective thing. And this one is although it looks like it's attached to the city walls over here, it's not. So you can tell it was a free-floating thing. There's one in India leading to a bit of a market. And this is another one in India. Kolkata, the West Gate. And we're going to do horses on the top, huh? Even here in India. This most unnecessarily placed. This one is Hungary. And now we're going to jump to Texas. Right, this is Texas. A victory arch in all over the world. It's kind of a bad picture, but you'd think this would be India, but this is actually Guatemala. I was surprised to see that look there. And here we have the Memorial Arch in Junction City, Kansas. Not the same grandeur, no. Why are we imitating these people, though? Why are we doing this like this? Why? This is in Germany. And a little bit different twist on it. This one's going to put lines up there. Okay, close enough. And stand alone. I don't know what these used to be doorways to the other worlds or sort of stargates. I don't know. I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous. That is ridiculous, but I can't think of anything else what they'd be used for. This is a beautiful one in Germany. We're at war. We're all so much at war with each other all the time. It's weird we would imitate each other, like this one and put a big friggin' eagle on the top. This one's not here anymore, but this is in Germany. Look at the size of that in sculpture. Unbelievable. And then you get the wreaths. That is just incredible. How big that is compared to the people. This one is in Africa. In the Gambia. Very interesting, isn't it? Why Gambia would feel the need to have this here. And this is back in France, where they are everywhere. I like to point out, you can see the little wreath around the top here still. What does it mean? I don't know. You tell me. And this is what I meant by those little acoustic sort of hexagons you see inside of those. These are all in France. All standalone Arc de Triomphe. The official ones with the gold angels. And we still got the wreaths, and we still got the same themes. And I just don't know how it's possible. How is it possible, America? Here's another one. This one looks like it's been sealed up a little bit, but it's got the same wreaths, the same stuff. Does make you wonder. Really, really does. Just everywhere, seemingly for no reason. What is that one? What is the point of that? What is the point? And this doesn't look that different from some of the ones you see in Southeast Asia, where they got the little urns on the top. Another giant one in France, my lord. Nothing around it. It's just the strangest thing. And I know they say, oh, we build these for our soldiers real quick, and then we tear them down. We're like, really? This is the Fall River Victory Arch. No longer there, but 1919, we put this up for our soldiers. And look at this. We had to do the thing, huh? We had to put the eagles in the... There's no one original around here. This is a entrance gate to White City Amusement Park, as you can see. White City Amusement Park. A big white gate. This one is in Ecuador. Very odd. This one is in Mongolia, next to the giant statue of Genghis Khan. Even Mongolia in their own way. And they've got the eagle too. How bizarre. What a coincidence. It's almost like we're like the same people with the same symbols, man. This is the Dewey Arch after a parade in 1899 New York. And we're telling me that this thing was erected to be temporary. Yeah, right. The huge, topless, giant, half-angel woman with a wreath of eternity and eagles. Likely story, America. Likely bleeping story. Here it is, a better picture from straight on. Looks like we replaced some of the dudes, didn't we? It's incredible. I mean, what is this? I'm sure this is just a store logo. Nah, something weird going on here. Very weird with these Nephilim type dudes. Very weird. I don't trust it. And this is in Denver. This one. This is after some recent protest, I guess, that picture. And this is in Cuba. Even though it doesn't have the grandeur, it's still got the same kind of theme going on. This one is in Bolivia. Erected for seemingly nowhere. And this one is allegedly built quickly for President Benjamin Harris's visit to Seattle in 1891. That looks possible. I mean, and then you got this in Colombia with the same eagle on the top. And I'm just saying that these are just all repurposed from some worldwide culture that shared the same symbolism, the same technology, and the same building styles. I mean, I don't know how else I can put it. I mean, this seems so obvious to me. This is in Chinatown, New York City. Unbelievable. And there's lots of these in Chinatowns you'll see, which is kind of interesting. This is in actual China. They don't want to be left out. Even China getting in on it. This is the Cesar Chavez Archway in California. There was a later one that they put up, and still they chose this motif, allegedly because the eagle is the symbol of the farmer. But I'm saying, no freaking way. It can't be a coincidence. Here, this is a picture, as you can see, they have artillery passing through the arch, but arch is over there, I think. And it looks sealed up. I don't know what's going on there. This is in Vancouver, BC, for the welcoming for the exposition. So they had to build one of these too, everywhere. And here's the Princess Gates in Canada with their own expedition they put on. Of course, a likely cover story. And this one's just so stupid. Like this guy's up here, guys up here standing around. So dumb. And this is in Canada on Bay Street. Just gonna build this here and just climb all over it while the scaffolding's still on it. And this one is in Cambodia on Diamond Island. And look at the size of this building. The people. I mean, I see that it's like people in and on it. That's just incredible. Cambodia. And they've got one too here called the Independence Monument right here, which is much more ritualistic looking, really. You're not alone, little archers. You got friends everywhere. This is the Palace of the Legion of Honor in California. Like a terrible picture. You get the idea. And this is Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Firmly cementing in my mind again that Las Vegas, this stuff was just here. And they're pretending like they made it after Caesar. Pretending like it's modeled after Caesar. Because some of these buildings are already there, already looking Roman. And they ran with the theme. That's what I think. This one's in Bulgaria. And this is in Brooklyn. Soldiers and Sailors Arch. Look at this. How cool. And yet still, we're not going to deviate too much. You got the eagle, the eagle, the eagle. And what do we got up here? Taurus. And I personally think these symbols were clues left behind for us to tell us something. I just don't know what that is. This is in Connecticut, Perry Memorial Arch. This one is in Brazil. Stylistically strange, but fits the bill size-wise. It's in the middle of freaking nowhere. This is also in Brazil. She's got a little crown up there. A little Taurus crown. This one's in Bolivia. Very curious location. Not very practical, is it? And this one is in Belgium. Very famous one in Belgium. And that is just incredible. Absolutely incredible. This one, sorry, the grainy photography is in Belarus. I don't know. This is me. These just stand out terribly wild. And this one is Barbados. I guess it's not really Victory Arch, but it is kind of strange where it's just standing alone like that. And another one here. It's another impressive specimen here in New York. Like the same eagle. Why doth the caged bird sing? Ooh, what is this? That's kind of cool. With the shadow people. Oh my god, I've seen you guys. Oh, one time I stayed up for like 3 days straight. We hung out on the roof. Remember? You guys don't remember me, huh? It's a long time ago. This one's in Australia. The Federation Arch over the street. With the same symbolism. Like, can anybody come up with a new type of way to honor somebody? This is in Australia as well. The Arch of Victory. Same old thing. This one is in Australia as well. Welcome, ever, smile on both. No, great advice. Thanks. Look, they got another one down there. What's going on in the world back in this time? Just a very, very crazy place. I don't have much insight on these. I just I think visually they're striking, and I don't know what to make of it. This is in Palo Alto, the Stanford Arch. This is what we're looking at as allegedly damage from the earthquake. It's odd that it only destroyed the parts that had these symbols on them. You would think that there'd be cracks from the bottom. I don't know. It could be different earthquake damage, but everything about that whole thing's shady. And this is in Argentina. Looks like it's kind of been like repurposed a little bit, part of a daycare. And this one is in Afghanistan. Believe it or not. Afghanistan. Wow. The same little wreathy wreaths. And look like it's been through a little bit. And a very familiar motif here. Did they hold another purpose? Italy? Is there something to it? Or is it just symbolic? And we are just all about them symbolisms, y'all. What do you think? This one's ridiculous. This is actually a 1922 Masonic Masonic convention in New Orleans. And look how huge this statue is, this horse up here. And this is the Knights of Templar, which look just like Marines, which kind of makes you wonder. And the eagles on each corner is just odd, man. This is ritualistic stuff, perhaps it's just ritualistic. Maybe that's all it really is. And maybe that's just part of it. This is the Carnegie Arch of Learning, and this one is part of the Evergreen Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Gotta have your little wreaths up there. Wouldn't be the same now, would it? This one is Utah, or was in Utah long ago. It is no longer there. It looks very, very interesting. I'm not even sure why. Look at how many telephone poles they got. Oh my God. Take it easy, Utah. This one is in Gettysburg National Military Park. And what a stunner. The Angel of Death up here. Holding the eagle, maybe? Yep. Same old symbols everywhere you look. And this is the Wellington Arch in London. Ah, well. Hey guy. What are you doing there? I might have known. Harboring children, just like Prince Albert. You never changed, do you? And this one is in London as well. The Admiralty Arch, very impressive. There are tons of them here in England or the UK. This is a marble arch, of course. And this one is in Turkey. And this one is also in Turkey. It's amazing, amazing building. I would have thought this would be more like India with the artistic stylings, but nope. And one can see how it's just very similar. I mean, these might as well be eagles, and these might as well be the Wreaths of Eternity, and it don't take much. This is in Taiwan. Look at this massive building. It's incredible. Actually, a bunch of them in Taiwan. This one's not. This is a different take on the arch thing. This is in Taiwan, but I mean, talk about unnecessary. Very unnecessary. This one's in Spain. See, we have the same stuff happening everywhere you go. This was in Slovakia. Look like it's seen better days. And this was in Saudi Arabia, all around the world. Here's one in Russia, and with the same little wreaths and the same little design. It's weird. You'd think that we were just all living in one big happy life together at one point in time. But maybe these doors are just easy, quick way to travel to and fro with magic. Now the world's not magic anymore. I don't know. I mean, I know it sounds fanciful. It is fanciful. What the hell else are they for? And this one is in Austria. And this one is in Algeria, although it's not quite the same. Not quite the same look, you know. A little bit more rustic. A little bit. Few that think you get the idea. I don't really have any more new ideas. I just more of the old one. This one's in Italy. And I'm just trying to give you something to think about, something to consider. And what we're always told that things like fasces and these arches of triumph are just symbolic. Everything with Rome was just all about symbolism. They were all about building these massive things when people come to town. It just seems so impossible. And then they echo that story in America. Oh, we just built it for the troops coming home and then we destroyed it. You know, we built the World's Fair for this and that and it was meant to be destroyed. I just don't buy it. It's just a silly story. It just doesn't match. It just stands out. It's not plausible. It's not, you can't duplicate it with the tools and technology and the population we're told that they had. So it's just, I can't accept it. And so thanks to that little loophole, you know, a lot of the other things just fall apart too. But this one's pretty telling and pretty obvious that something else is going on in this world. If anything, at the very least, we were all much more united all across the world than they would have us believe. And it goes on and on and on. This is Japanese Day Parade in Seattle. They've got a big one here, 1909. And this one's actually in Japan. And this one is the Rosedale Memorial Arch in Kansas. And this one is all the way over in Mongolia. What? Kansas and Mongolia? How could you? How could you have the same ideas? This was on a stamp in Kazakhstan. Like what? And this is the Knights Templar in Seattle, 1923, parading on 2nd Avenue through their little gate. Everybody's got to get their own gate. This was in Latvia. They did a little park here. This one is in Laos, over Southeast Asia. And this is a strange one, Ark of the Filani, and this was in Libya. It is no longer there. It was destroyed. And this one is, or was part of, when Tripoli had an international fair in Libya, and this is what they built for this. You know, the usual World Fair story. Oh yeah, I built this giant thing, and we trashed it because, you know, the fair was over, and everyone was like, oh man, this is lame. We're out of pie, might as well go home and smash the building. What do we do? This is in Malta. Obviously very weirdly alone. Standing very alone out there, and this is also in Malta. And this old boy is in Hartford, Connecticut, in the Memorial Arch. Of course, memorializing everything. This one's in Huntington, West Virginia, I believe. believe. And yep, even you, sir. Even you, West Virginia. This is what's called the Millennium Gate in Atlanta. Not the Stargate. No. Millennium Gate. This one's for time. The other one's for space. Pay attention. This one's in Moldova. And also Moldova. Looking very out of place. This is in Korea, or was. It's been destroyed, but this was supposed to be the arch representing the reunification of the country, which obviously hasn't happened yet, so they smashed it. This is the one in Moscow. Weird, huh? How the ones in Philadelphia at the same time with the same, like, guy sitting in an iron throne / Masonic symbol stuff happening from Russia. It's like, it's how we're bitter enemies, bro. This one is the Pennsylvania Memorial Arch. Same little dudes in there. Little nodes. And this is in the Netherlands. The Netherlands had a whole bunch of them that were, a lot of them are all destroyed now, I believe. And many of them are only available with these really old pictures or drawings. But they're pretty fascinating. The different styles of them that were all around Amsterdam. Get your obelisk and everything. I mean, this is a cultural thing. This isn't just humans just make this. No matter what. This is cultural. We were the same culture. We shared the same symbols, the same beliefs, the same gods, whatever you want to call it. This was in New Hampshire. It's the only thing that makes sense. There's a big one in Virginia, Newport. You can see the ornamentation kind of fading on that one. This one's in North Hudson Park, New Jersey. And this one is actually in North Korea. Wow, how about that? North freaking Korea. Claim they built this later in time, and maybe they did, but it was, I guess, obvious to see what Kim Jong was trying to imitate. If it's not from the same era, which I believe it probably is, hell, we know what he was trying to do. This was in Macedonia, and I think that a lot of these are very old and repurposed. That's what I think. What you gonna do about it, huh? What you gonna do about it? Here's sort of one that's been in a garden in Pakistan. And here's the fake one in Las Vegas. Weird how it's also doesn't match the other buildings. Isn't that odd? This is the Jaipur, very famous Jaipur gate. The same Pennsylvania one. This one is Peru, Morosco, Peru. So South America got to get in on it. This was in Philadelphia. This one right here. And this beautiful picture is an old arch. See here, little eagle on the top. Very old picture. As good as I can get. Tinian arch it was called. This one's in the Philippines. Same. What did you guys get? You guys got the same designer? What? This is also in the Philippines, but man, these are bad pictures. Very, very bad. Not good resolution. Same concept though. And this is in the Philippines. Boy, they got this one right. Look at that. Got the same stuff, man. Like this is just. It's actually kind of silly that we don't question this more. That more people aren't like, what the hell? What's this? What does Rome have to do with the Philippines? Somebody ain't about to tell me why. This is Poland. And this one is in Portugal. Not to be left out. I know you're probably getting tired of this, but I am thorough when it comes to this stuff. More wreaths of eternity. More eagles. We need more, guys. More. Not enough. It's not enough. This was a drawing of one that was in Moscow, and it not no mer. And yeah, weird. Why can't I go to New York and see buildings with that same stuff on it? Makes no sense. This is the Red Gate. It's called. This is actually a photograph of that last one because I did have one. Returning from World War I. Through the arch. Yay! Forget everything that you saw here. This one's in Romania. I believe this one's no longer here. And I believe these guys are selling pretzels, and I believe I want one. This one is also in Russia. A little stylistically different. And Russia as well. Imagine, they've got buttloads of them. It's an exact count, too. Buttloads. And even there, and they're just kind of using this little park here, it's just... You wouldn't do this. Extra ridiculous ornamentation. I don't think so. No, it was there. These were there. I might have repainted it, freshened it up, gave it a name, and a meaning, reason for it to be there, but why would we do the same exact thing? I feel so sad. I'm just repeating myself here. I'm going to continue to repeat it until you guys or somebody does something about it. This was really interesting with the red and white motif, which you don't see very often for these. Thought that was a good one. And this is the gateway, Memorial Gate to Brown University. I just thought it was interesting because, again, it's not related to the buildings around it. This is actually in Somalia. What it's doing there is anyone's guess. I couldn't tell you. A weird one in Spain. Looks like it just came from India. And Spain's got tons of them that are very looking older than hell. Just beautiful though. There's marble. I mean, the detail on these, the amount of time would have taken to put these up so that they're still there hundreds of years later. It's like, you didn't do this because she's a dignitary who's getting off the boat. And you're like, quick, grab some bricks. Make an archway for them to go through. And there was allegedly three that they built in Seville, Spain for the arrival of Queen Isabel. And this is one of them, and this is the other, and this one as well. So 3 of these they built up just for Queen coming to visit. Yeah, right. This one's also in Spain here. This is a drawing of one that was in Sweden. It's weird because it looks bigger than the entire town. I mean, imagine these little vendors, and it's like, this is just the doorway with all these statues, and I mean, get the hell out of here. What a strange place. What is going on in this place? And this one is now a cathedral in Canada. I don't know. I think that perhaps it wasn't always a cathedral. This is interesting. This is the China Air Force Academy, and yet they have the same logo that we do. Why? Why does China have the same eagle? Like, no one can pick like a honey badger or anything? We all got the same bird, and no one seems to care. This is Tajikistan. Ridiculous. This is in Charleston. Yeah, 1875. Got these wireless trolleys rolling around. That's curious. Well, this one is in Ukraine, who didn't want to be left out, and this one is in the UK as well. And so I think you get the point. They're everywhere. They are legion, and we should wonder why. You know, like, just what's the point of them? And if there is no point, if they're just symbolic, well, that's weird. That's weird to make things everywhere that's so symbolic. They'll just look exactly the same. I suppose it should be comforting if it was acknowledged. This is Venezuela, by the way. Venezuela, and that one you can't see, but this is where the soldiers are going to disappear in the Dewey Arch, never to be seen again. That's right, I said it. This is a man walking in snowy Chinatown in Washington towards the gate of no return. Or he's playing chicken with this car right here, or I don't know. But then this is the one in Washington today, Washington Square. I mean, call me later. And Camp Randall, Wisconsin, hold my beer, they said. We got a weird eagle too. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Nothing here? Just doorways? Just totally normal? Or is there something going on over here? Or that there's a big nothing burger? Or that maybe you saw your grandma disappear into one of these and she came back looking younger and healthier, and she had a great adventure. I don't know. I'll see you soon.